So what is the issue here? I mean, that is what we should be looking into, and what is the constitutional position, and why is it happening, and what is our position on all these things. That is how we will be looking into these kind of topics. Okay, so what is happening right now? Why is the issue? Because certain cow protectors, they are chasing, and even the self-styled go-rexhaks or cow protectors, they are catching people carrying some meat or not carrying also, but still, and they are taking law into their hands, and then many people are getting beaten up in the name of they are carrying this the meat of cow or buffalo. You don't even know what is that meat what kind of meat is carried. Therefore, yesterday also some attack in Maharashtra, where it was supposed to be, I mean, the fellow who was caught was saying that he was carrying mutton, but ultimately people managed to thrash him left and right, so he is in hospital now. So all these, so that is the cow vigilantism which we are talking about, and law taking into their hands, that is the issue. Now, many people are talking about these governments are implementing the directive principles of state policy. That is Article 48 of the Indian Constitution. That is the argument put forward by the supporters of the cow protection. They are saying they are only implementing the Constitution and the provisions in the Constitution under the directive principles of state policy, which we generally call it as DPSP. Okay, so we will be studying in polity this elaborately. So this directive principles of state policy are not enforceable in a court of law. First of all, it is only a directive principle, it's only a directive. There is no legal standing on directive principles. You cannot say that, okay, this is there in the Constitution, so it has to be implemented. No, it is not a fundamental right. Fundamental rights are enforceable. Please remember, we will be studying all these things, but still fundamental rights are enforceable, directive principles are not enforceable. And even this Article 48, which talks about the cow protection, what is that it says? The state shall organize agriculture and animal husbandry. It talks about agriculture and animal husbandry on modern scientific line. Okay, the argument is state shall organize agri and animal husbandry. And the state should take steps to preserve and improve the breeds. Preserve and improve the breeds of the cattle. Breeds, and prohibit slaughter of cows, prohibit slaughter of cows, calves, and other milch and draught cattle. Okay, cows, calves, and other milch and draught cattle. So, first of all, it is not talking about all cattle. I mean, all, breeds like buffaloes and all, not mentioned at all. It is talking about cows, calves, and other milch and draught cattle. And it is clubbed under an economic directive. It's basically an economic directive. This directive is not based on any religion. We are not saying that we want to ban cow slaughter because some religious sentiments are associated with that. We are only saying that we should improve animal husbandry, we should improve agriculture, we should improve the productivity, protect these cows, calves, and other milch and the draught cattle in the economic sense. See, then why Article 48 is written the way it is written? That is the next question. Why this article? Why this article? See, in the Constituent Assembly, when the Constitution was framed, there was a debate regarding this cow protection and cow slaughter. And some members of the Constituent Assembly, they wanted a ban on cow slaughter based on the religious issue, the religious sentiments of some people, the majority community. They wanted a ban on cow slaughter. Many members were very vocal and they were very emotional about the banning of cow slaughter in India because of the sentiments attached to the respect and what not among some communities. And especially see, the majority community means not all Hindus are respecting cows, but there are many respecting cows. So even if one person is respecting, that respect is respect. We have no problem with that. Okay, but since our country, our constitution is a secular constitution, since India has no state religion, we have no state religion. India is not a Hindu Rashtra. The constitution makers, especially Ambedkar, Nehru, all, they felt that if you incorporate this provision only because of the sentiments of religious sentiments, then the very concept of a secular country will be affected. So they made a compromise formula. I mean, negotiations took place within the Constituent Assembly, and finally, even those who were asking for cow slaughter ban, they came up with a compromise formula by saying that, in fact, their demand was that this ban on cow slaughter should be part of a fundamental right, like any other, the other fundamental rights which are enforceable in the court of law. They wanted it to be like that. But finally, they also agreed that India is a vast country, diverse country with multiple culture and different eating habits. So we also need to have a compromise, and the compromise was that we will write it as a directive principle, not to be enforced in a court of law, but we will try to promote this idea of, and that too, the milch cattle, cow, calves and other milch cattle, which are economically productive cattle. The basic idea of this, when you write, it is, cows, calves, milch, draught cattle. What is the meaning of that? The meaning is, we should be protecting, we should prohibit the slaughter of economically productive cattle. So we should not be killing the economically productive cattle, and if it is not economically viable, it is not old age and all, then we can afford to, or we can go for slaughter also. That was the idea behind. And so this article was a compromise between the demands of some people who wanted complete ban on cow slaughter and the other secularists who wanted allowing this to happen. So the balance was that we wrote in the Article 48. So that is how this is a directive principle of the state policy. So in the name of hurting the sentiments and religion, Article 48 is not there. It is only on the economic basis. Now, what is the history of our, eating beef during the Vedic time? We had evidence to prove that, we used to consume beef, and it was considered to be the most important, for the most distinguished guest. It was given anyway. Let us not get into the details of, go back to Vedas. So during Vedic time, there is solid evidence to suggest that Indians used to eat beef. There is no doubt about this. But these reverence and respect in North India about this cow started the post-Mauryan period only. Okay, this started only after the Mauryans. Post-Mauryan period, the issue of the respect for revering the cattle, the cows and all came up in the post-Vedic period. Post-Mauryan period. Even in 1857 revolt, one big issue was that the cartridges and the grease was cow fat, and that was one of the reasons why the revolt. So we have a history of this issue. Then, even in, when the Indian Penal Code, IPC was there, 295, when the IPC 295 and the Indian Penal Code was written, they mentioned about deliberately hurting the sentiments of religion. This issue was there. But based on this, in 1888, there was a case. But at that time, the court, it was in the Northwest Frontier Province, they rejected cow slaughter should not be treated as part of the, deliberately hurting the sentiments of the people. And also, the British time, it was ignored. But the issue of cow slaughter and the protection was taken up very seriously by, our Swami Dayanand Saraswati. And his Arya Samaj. A lot of campaign was there in 1880s. 1880s, this was taken the shape of a political movement or a socio-cultural movement by Arya Samaj in 1880s. So in 1888, I said, there was a case which was rejected by the court saying that cow slaughter cannot be treated as hurting the sentiments because cow cannot be equated to that level for hurt and this and that. Anyway, so that we are not so bothered. But Dayanand Saraswati and Arya Samaj, 1880s, this movement started, and immediately after this led to a series of riots in India. The first major communal riots, I mean, communal riots might have been there earlier, but on the issue of cow, communal riots started in many parts of India in 1890s after the movement of Arya Samaj started, and this communal riots repeated in 1920s also. So this cow as a political issue started in 1880s onwards. Till then, it was never a political issue. Then, as I told, constitution makers made it as a directive principle, not as a fundamental right or anything. And then again, another issue in our country is, even though it is mentioned in Article 48, animal husbandry is a subject of a state matter, state subject. So, any regulation, any rule can be done only by the state government, not by the central government. It is not a central subject, it is a state subject. States can always do, state can come up. Now, many states have come up with various regulations and rules. Some have completely banned, like states like Haryana, now Maharashtra, where if you cow slaughter or even possessing beef, punishable offense for more than 5 years, this, that, you can kill a human being, the punishment is slightly less. But if you kill a cow, you will be in jail for many years, so completely banned. In some states, it will be, the department will certify that, these cows are not economically viable now, so they can be slaughtered. So certified by the department. So after a certain age and a certain viability, then it can be, slaughtered. It can be seen. In certain states like West Bengal, Kerala, in many northeast states, no restriction whatsoever. There can be, the cow slaughter is freely allowed. There is no problem. So, since it is a federal subject, since it is a state subject, different states have different issues. Now, as far as this law, when it started coming up in various states, this was challenged in the Supreme Court. Okay, when it was challenged in the Supreme Court, the first major, judgment in the Supreme Court came in 1958. 1958. This was, Mohammad Qureshi versus the state of Bihar. Where Supreme Court upheld the cow slaughter ban, whatever ban, on economic considerations. Economic considerations. And declared that there cannot be any slaughter of useful cattle. Okay, there cannot be any slaughter of useful cattle. So, useful cattle means which are economically viable, providing milk, or useful in the plowing of the field, whatever it is. So, the Supreme Court used the word useful cattle. That was the 1958 verdict. But when the state of Gujarat came up with a complete ban on cow slaughter, again a case came up in the Supreme Court in 2005. At that time, Supreme Court went one step ahead and said that all cattle are useful till death. Okay. Now, Supreme Court's argument that even the cow dung, which is till death, cow will, some excreta will be there, some cow dung, some urine will be there. So that will help in the farmland. That will be, that is a, organic fertilizer, So, the Supreme Court said that there is nothing called useless cattle. there is only less useful cattle. Okay. Every cattle is useful, but some cattle can be less useful. If it is not giving any milk, and if it is not able to walk also for, in the plowing in the field, so it is less useful, because still it is useful because it is producing dung every day. Okay. So the dung is so useful that to protect, so Supreme Court, even then, now the point what you should understand is, even in 2005, Supreme Court, while upholding that, cow slaughter, complete cow slaughter in Gujarat is valid, Supreme Court did not say it is because of religion or sentiment. Supreme Court still said the usefulness, the definition of usefulness, they went deeper into the definition of the usefulness and never said that it is because of the sentiments attached to some community or one community or another community. They still insisted that it is a usefulness. So even in 2005, the Supreme Court judgment, it was a case related to the complete ban of cow slaughter in Gujarat. Supreme Court insisted that there is no cow which is alive can be termed as completely useless. There is some use, be it its dung only or its urine only, but still that it can be used in the field, which is an organic fertilizer. So you should consider it as useful. And because of that use, a complete ban on cow slaughter in Gujarat is acceptable. Very good. So Supreme Court had really, dug out the dung and found out that there is a lot of use in this dung. Okay. So that is how we have gone. But even in that judgment, Supreme Court did not say that it is a religious issue, it is a sentimental issue. It still insisted that it is a, it is an economic issue. So even 2005. Now, in May 2017, when the central government came out with an instruction by the, Environment Ministry, saying that no cattle can be traded for slaughter in a market. There cannot be any cattle trade for slaughter in the market. You have to certify that you are selling it only to another person who wants to, continue with this, that cattle to be allowed to be alive, and any buyer also should certify that I will not kill this and I will protect it and I will be using it only for my domestic animal husbandry purpose, which created a hue and cry. That is how in May 2017 the issue was once again in the market, so in the news. So in this, 2-3 things are there, an analysis of this now. First thing is, first of all, the union government, the question is, can center issue a directive like this? Can center issue a directive like this? The legal experts say center has no right to issue a directive like this because animal husbandry is a state subject. That is number one. So it is a state subject. Number two issue is, in the whole controversy, which you should know, is that this, whoever is saying that, there is a constitutional support or other constitution is behind. But please remember, Article 48 is very clear. It is an economic basis article or an economic article, or it is the protection of the cow for economic purpose, not for any religious purpose. Not for religious purpose. That is number two. Number three, even if somebody has killed a cow, imagine somebody killed a cow, violating the law in that state, only police can take action. Okay, if somebody violated law, suppose tomorrow, while walking in the road, you found that some vehicle, some driver violated the traffic signal. Now, who will take action against that fellow? Whether you will go and personally hit him and say that, how dare you violate the law? मारता हूं तुमको, बाहर खींच के मारो उसको. So we cannot do that. It has to be, it is the duty of the police to take action against them, and no vigilante can take any action. They cannot even stop a person. It is the freedom of movement of that person. If somebody is carrying, suppose we know that somebody is carrying, say beef in a car or in a scooter, we cannot even stop. We can only alert the police. Police will have to stop. Police will have to find out. It is the duty of the police. In Delhi, it is not even the duty of the police. It is the duty of the Animal Husbandry Department. Even police cannot stop. The rule in Delhi is very clear. The Delhi police cannot barge into anybody's house and check whether beef is out there or whether it is there in the freezer or not. Delhi police has no right. Even if there is a complaint, it has to be done by the Animal Husbandry Department, not by the... So, different states have different rules. So, only police or the government can take action, government authorities can take action, not by vigilantes. But unfortunately, what is happening is, people are taking action and killing also. सब मारने के बाद पुलिस को बुला रहे, आ जाओ, एक लाश पड़ा है इधर. Okay, so this is our contribution to the society. Okay, so this is number 2. Then number 4, most importantly, let us not look into the number of incidents. We may say the number of incidents are very less. This has more news value these days. Any newspaper you open, any website you open, any news channel, whether it is a PTI or a foreign channel, Reuters or any foreign channel, maximum coverage is for these kind of activities. And especially in foreign countries, the first thing you are asked, if you meet a foreigner, I mean, when you travel outside in Europe and all, I personally had this experience, when the first thing, the moment you say from India and some acquaintance, and if you start talking, the first reaction is, how about beef these days? Okay, so they are so, for them it is funny. Okay, out of fun and for them, they can't even understand what we are doing. So there is so much of nuisance value for this and the news value, and foreigners are now, getting, out of proportion news there, and it will definitely affect our FDI and the investments in India. Because what they are getting the feeling is, there is a lot of insecurity in the country, investments, insecurity is a problem, and many are reluctant to think about investing in India because of they feel that our social fabric is in danger. Okay, so the news value is a problem. Then, if violence continues the way it is continuing, it is going to be a big question mark on secularism in India. This big question mark on secularism. See, we need to understand only one thing. Secularism is not a charity, or rather it is not a concession by the majority on minority. Secularism and respect for culture, other culture, or the multiculturalism, it is a necessity for India. We are so diverse, we are so vibrant and multi-religious, multicultural, multi-ethnic community. India has nothing in common other than this diversity. So, it is not just a charity, it is a necessity for the survival of the nation. If we are not understanding it, today or tomorrow, we will be paying a heavy price for, diluting this very concept of multiculturalism. So, it's a big question mark on our secular credentials. And one more point in this context I would like to add here is, this beef eating is not something we started in 2014. Okay. This is going on in our country from time immemorial. Various communities consumed beef, Muslims, Christians, many scheduled castes, many scheduled tribes across India consumed beef from time immemorial. Even during independence, we knew that certain communities consume beef. And despite this, we said that you please continue in India. It is your land, it is your territory. You continue the way you are. We will protect with all diversity, unity in diversity. Beef consumption is also part of the diversity. They were consuming it. The whole world knew. And the rest of the so-called nationalists, everybody knew that there are communities who are consuming beef. And this is part of our understanding right from day one that this is going on. Now suddenly if you say that you cannot eat this, and you cannot, see, if you don't want, you don't eat. But you don't look into neighbor's plate every time unnecessarily. वो क्या खा रहे? हमारे टेंशन हमेशा neighbor के घर पे है. So unless we stop peeping into our neighbor's house unnecessarily, the problems are not going to be resolved. See, all I'm trying to say is that this is something which is going on from time immemorial. We cannot one fine morning say that certain people cannot eat this or that. Then we are unnecessarily barging into somebody else's plate, and we are searching for beef in somebody's neighbor's plate is really against our values and tradition, and no doubt about this. And most importantly, then not only this eating issue, there is a big economic issue involved in it. One is, we are the largest exporters of beef, the exports. Then the leather industry. And the number of people engaged in the associate activities are very high in India. The number of people engaged are very high. And please remember, those who are engaged in leather industry or even in the meat industry are normally from the socially backward communities. Socially backward communities. So their livelihood is seriously affected. Their choice of survival is in doubt. I mean, they have no, alternative jobs. I mean, many of them might have been doing this. Suppose the butchers who survive based on the slaughter of these animals, and then they sell the meat and survive. They may be doing this from generations. Now suddenly, one fine morning you say, you don't do this, you do something else. I don't think they will be having an immediate job opportunity also immediately. So it is going to be affecting maximum the socially backward communities and not the forward communities. So this is more of there is an economic issue on export, leather industry. Not only that, the socially backward communities will be more affected than the the forward communities. Then most importantly, if this trend continues, it will seriously affect animal husbandry. See, every farmer, irrespective of his religion, when he when he has or when he or she allows to have cattle with cattle to be grown, at the end of some time he wants to sell it off when the productivity is less, so that he can buy a new cow or new calf, so that a new milch cattle can be there for him. Now normally when they sell in the market, it fetches some 20,000-25,000 rupees these days. Now that is the seed money for the next generation cattle. This 20,000-25,000 rupees which we get is what is invested to buy a new cow or a new cattle, so that it can produce milk for him, and the cycle continues. There is a series of value chain involved in it. Now this money, if it is not there, and not only this, normally the marginal, small and the marginal farmers, one or two cows which are there at home it is like an insurance. Whenever there is an emergency, they sell this for their service. Suppose a medical emergency happens, an accident happens. The first victim of the medical emergency will be a cow. Next weekly market in the locality, this cow will be present. Why? Because boss has some medical emergency. So this was an insurance type. Now, if it cannot be sold in the market because of one or other reason, this is going to be a big blow to animal husbandry. And one more thing, a very interesting article which I read in Indian Express was that they have compared the states which have banned cow slaughter and the states which have not banned cow slaughter, and what is the share of the cows in the overall cow to buffalo ratio. Cow to buffalo ratio. In UP, it is around 60 to 40 it seems. Buffaloes are almost 40%, cows are 60%, where there is a ban on cow slaughter. Now in West Bengal, there is no ban on cow slaughter. So people know that at the end of the day they can sell the cows also in the market for slaughter and they can get that money in the old age. Do you know what is the ratio of the cow to buffalo ratio? Any idea? It is 93:7. Are you getting what I mean? If you allow slaughter, more people will be more than happy to allow the cows to be there because they know that at the end of the day, whenever they want, they can sell it in the market. So if you, now, without doing anything, cow can become an endangered species in the country. If things go the way it is going, if this percentage further goes down over a period of time and they know that I cannot sell this in the market at all, farmers will be slowly shifting to buffaloes so that they know that they can sell it in the market for a slaughter later on. Anyway, so this animal husbandry is a big question mark. And one more problem which I would like to say is that if you don't allow them to sell in the market, the farmers will let these animals to be stray animals. They will push them into the streets, saying that now it has no economic value, I cannot sell it in the market, so you fend for yourself. And they will eat plastic. Obviously, I mean, when in the road, maximum consumption will be plastic, and they will die of consuming this plastic and choking their intestine. And I feel this is more cruel than taking this cattle to the slaughterhouse, because you are allowing a slow and a painful death rather than allowing this cattle to be taken to the, I will say the slaughterhouse. And also, as I told you, this may ultimately lead to, see, the biggest issue right now in our country, the farm crisis which is going on. Most of the agricultural products have no remunerative price. I will be talking about this also immediately after this topic. Farm crisis is a big issue in our country. Now, in many places, farmers are surviving because of associated animal husbandry. Associated animal husbandry. Now, if animal husbandry is destroyed, then farmers will be in all the more trouble. So it will be a double whammy for the farmers. We need animal husbandry to be flourishing. Then only farmers will have some remunerative pricing, but that also will be lost in the end. So it is a very, very delicate issue. It is a crisis situation for India. I feel it is one of the major crises India is facing right now, because it is actually questioning the very foundation of India, that is secularism. It is affecting economically for many, especially in the export, especially in the leather industry, and who are engaged in the leather industry, we should look into the people who are normally in the socially backward community that are engaged in this. They are getting affected. There is an economic angle to this. Then there is a serious farm income, because farmers are not just farmers, they are also, they have an animal husbandry involved in it, and in the process, if animal husbandry is affected, whatever injustice is going on to the farmers, it will be doubled. So this is one of the major situations. Even though it looks like very simple and normal, it can take a big challenge. Are we talking about the scheduled caste people livelihood? Yes, we are actually talking about, because most of the people who are engaged in the leather industry are 90% are scheduled caste. They are seriously affected by this, because if you don't get enough leather, I mean, already in Kanpur, in Chennai, in many places they are struggling to get the enough leather, so that will be a big problem for us, and we have to be see, now, what about the innocent animal's life? See, now, innocent animal, there is nothing called innocent animal and ferocious animal, okay? So, every animal has a life cycle. Even if we have not slaughtered, that animal will die one day or another. We human beings are also like that. So, it is then we cannot kill the chicken also. Machar, क्यों मार रहे मच्छर आप? Innocent मच्छर, एक थोड़ा काटा, थोड़ा डेंगू दिया, क्या प्रॉब्लम है आपको? Okay, so please don't confuse between cruelty to animal and slaughter. There is a huge difference between slaughtering a cow or slaughtering an animal and cruelty towards the animal. I am not advocating cruelty to the animal. Nobody should advocate, because why should you, even for a dog in the street, You cannot show any cruelty. You cannot inflict any pain to that unnecessarily. But slaughtering is not inflicting pain or cruelty. That is part of the human generation as long as non-vegetarianism is there. Then tomorrow we'll have to slaughter even lions and tiger also, because they are also killing some other animal. Bada gaddar log. Okay. So we should eliminate lions and tigers also from the face of the earth. Okay. So then many flies eat small, smaller, flies or what and what not they eat. So sabko marne chalega. Then we are actually trying to interfere in the food chain unnecessarily. Cruelty is different, slaughtering is different. My only concern is in a progressive, forward-looking democracy, freedom of speech, expression, food, everything is part of our basic ethos and values, and we cannot compromise on these things. What is going on right now is an unnecessary issue. We should be talking about our issues related to development. We should be talking about issues that are related to how we can move forward, how India can become a progressive nation, rather than how we can be regressive by talking about all these things. And if somebody is not interested in eating any non-vegetarian, they should not eat. But if somebody is interested in eating, let them eat. Let us not barge into others' plate unnecessarily. That is the bottom line. So, killing or slaughtering an animal and cruelty are two different things. Then you will not be able to kill anything. We cannot allow any animal to die in the first place. वो भी cruelty हो जाएगा. ये मर बेचारा मर गया, बेचारा गाय, बेचारा भैंस, बेचारा क्या और मच्छर. Yes. So अगर कोई क्लास में मच्छर मारा, मैं बाहर कर दूंगा तुमको. ओके. IPC 295 लगाऊंगा. मेरा रिलीजियस सेंटिमेंट हर्ट हो गया. ओके. So don't kill any machar. Okay. So that is about. So I hope you understood the topic, and this is about the beef and the issue. It is a question. That's what are the three big things. It's an issue on secularism. It's an economic issue. It's a farm crisis, and not only that, it is on one more point. You please that it is on basic freedom. Okay. It's an issue on basic freedom.